Hello and welcome back to the Motorsport Baithak podcast. I'm your host Didi, and joining me today once again is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we'll be talking about the Miami GP. So let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready our opinions, and dive right into the conversation. Hello Vedant, let's dive right into it. Probably one of the biggest events in the recent history of Formula One, the Miami GP. What were your impressions on what went on at Miami from Wednesday evening when they did the opening ceremony in a way until Sunday night? What did you think of everything that F1 did over the course of last week?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was over exaggerated in my opinion, but that was always the plan for Miami. That was always the in the pipelines because it was going to be one of the biggest events with the horde of celebrities coming in, with the horde of big spenders coming in, whatever. But apart from the off track part of it, which I have come to accept now, which I mean, it was sort of like Monaco, but different in a way. But for me mainly the track itself was nice. It was better than I was expecting, especially the middle section, the turn 10 to turn 14, 15 part, and the racing was much better than I was expecting. So no complaints overall.
Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, the track and racing was much better than we were expecting going into the weekend, especially for a new street track. We've seen how many issues we have had with Jeddah. Obviously, we had that issue at turn 13, I believe, with the concrete walls, with Esteban Ocon and Carlos Sainz hitting the wall and, bruising themselves, basically. So that was an issue which will be rectified for next year based on the comments that we have heard so far. But other than that, the racing was great. Yes, it could be better if if that slow section was redesigned a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can't really complain a whole lot. But as far as the other stuff is concerned, I think it was great. I think F1 was able to pull huge numbers on TV. Like you saw, I think over 2 million people watched it in the US, or something like that. Almost as many as NASCAR. More people in the 18 to 49 age bracket watched it in the USA compared to NASCAR. So everything was great. The only thing that I'm sad about a little bit is no one was able to match the energy that Crofty brought along during that opening ceremony. He was on another level, and no one on that stage ever, throughout the entire ceremony, matched his energy. He was just so he was full of he was just bursting in, like, he was so excited, and no one could match it. And I wish everyone brought the same energy as Crofty did, because then it would have been an insanely enjoyable show. But I also like the fact that F1 put W Series front and center for that ceremony, starting with them. So kudos to F1 for doing that, and also the fact that W Series has adopted a double header style format, which gave them more screen time. Uh, in front of everyone during a Formula One weekend. So a lot of positives coming out of this, in my opinion, for both F1 and W Series. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And for W Series, having a race in Miami in front of all those celebrities, all those high earners, was very important because we are seeing W Series move into a sort of team format, and it was a great platform for them to showcase it to the American market and bring in more and more sponsors. So that potentially would have been, it could be a great move, uh, leading up to more sponsorships and more investments.
Absolutely, yeah. That is a great point. But that was about Miami, and I'm excited to see what happens in Vegas. If Miami was such a huge event, Vegas will be towards the end of the season next year, and I mean it's too difficult to even set expectations for Vegas, because it's gonna be a different sort of vibe, but it's gonna be an even grander party if not I'm not gonna say a better party or anything, just a grander party in general with
Yeah.
everyone involved in Vegas. So really excited about what's gonna happen there. But let's get into the racing that actually happened on Sunday, and obviously the biggest takeaway from this weekend was uh, Ferrari is behind Red Bull. Ferrari needs to come up with these upgrades at Barcelona and hit back. Otherwise, the slight advantage that it has in the points table, both in drivers and constructors championship, will be gone sooner than you can even say Max Verstappen.
Okay, and I mean the only reason Red Bull is behind Ferrari is because Red Bull had those reliability issues, right? Apart from that, had those issues not been there, Red Bull would have been miles ahead of Ferrari. And given the fact that Ferrari has not brought in any upgrades from testing till now,
And Carlos has had multiple
yeah.
retirements.
So it's a mixed bag, but Ferrari definitely need some upgrades in Barcelona, and obviously every team will be bringing upgrades to Barcelona because it is the staple benchmark for Formula One for many years now. But Ferrari definitely need some more straight line speed, as we saw in Miami.
Yeah, and not just straight line speed. Red Bull is not just beating Ferrari on straight line speed. Red Bull has better tire management on their cars. The cars don't destroy the tires as fast as the Ferrari does. After Bahrain, we thought it was the other way around, but clearly that is not the case. Whatever little upgrades Red Bull have brought along over the last few races have been working pretty well in their favor, and Ferrari really need to step up. But another good news for Ferrari fans is that Sainz has finally finished the race on the podium. So
Yeah.
hopefully that will give him some confidence and show him that he can do it. And if he remains consistent, there is a chance. Because it is really Sainz is the one who hasn't brought home the points over the last few races. And had Sainz finished most of the races in the points, all of the races in the points, Ferrari would still be in a relatively more comfortable position. So that is that. Unfortunately for Perez, really he was managing that engine issue, I believe.
Yeah,
And
sensor
then
issue.
he just didn't have the pace. But on the medium tires, he looked ominous for Carlos. They came really close, but good stuff from Carlos to keep it out of Sergio Perez going into turn one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that defense of Sergio Perez, because Perez was on, even with the issue he was handling, he was on mediums and he was faster. And for Carlos to defend against Perez for so many laps until Sergio Perez misbraked himself, it would be great confidence boosting. The podium itself is obviously a great result for Carlos, but the way he drove and the way he defended against Sergio would have given him a lot more confidence on the car. And especially, he crashed out on Friday and then he rebuilt his weekend throughout that in the 2 days. So that really would have helped him mentally as well as with the car, the comfort with the car.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's about all, at the front of the field. We need to talk about what happened towards the tail end, of the midfield, basically, of the point scorers at least. But I just want to say, unfortunate for Valtteri, Bottas made that one mistake which costed him 2 places. Otherwise, he would have been best of the rest instead of George Russell, who continues his streak of finishing in the top five in all the races this season. Probably the most consistent driver out there at the moment. But yeah, let's talk about those who finished in the last 3-4 places in the points. And I'm talking about another stellar performance from Alex Albon and Lance Stroll bringing home points. It would have been Seb and Mick, but just wasn't to be. Mick finally faster than his teammate in qualifying, faster than his teammate in race trim, but just couldn't bring it home. Gliding with his mentor. Not doesn't look good. They tried to be diplomatic, but clearly they were frustrated a little bit after the race. You could see that. But hopefully, I mean, obviously, I don't think this collision will create a rift in their relationship. But it would have been nice for at least Mick to bring home his first points in the Haas in his home race. In the Haas home race, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Mick Schumacher is now some top in the top 10 bracket of most races without points or something like that. So, and he's still going. But I mean, with the car he has, with the development advantage the Haas has, I think it's just a matter of time that Mick Schumacher gets those points. But I was very surprised and well happy to see Mick Schumacher finally beat Kevin Magnussen in qualifying, because K-Mag, as we all know, is a great qualifier. He has put that Haas P5 and P4 in qualifying a couple of times in, I don't know, 2019 and 2020. But to see Mick Schumacher out qualify Kevin Magnussen was pretty good, and it would be good for Mick as well, because he has a benchmark in K-Mag, and to beat that benchmark in his second year is great.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunate though for the home team, not getting any points. But we have to talk about Alonso, tangling with nearly everyone in the midfield. I want to say I can't remember, Alonso not tangling in the race at all, and another race without points for Fernando. But on the other hand, we have all said, Seb drove a great race. Alex Albon, who's been super consistent in that Williams, drove a great race from the back of the grid to get the points. But Esteban Ocon, from the back of the grid, no qualifying, from the back of the grid to P8 or P7 was it? Uh, that is some great stuff from Esteban, and especially after that crash, and he had a crash on Saturday, not even Friday. It was on
Saturday,
Saturday,
yeah.
so even less time for him to get the car ready and everything like that. So I think he was the driver of the day for sure for me. The way he brought that Alpine home the points.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a 51G crash, which is equal to what Max Verstappen had in Silverstone last year. So the magnitude of it was pretty huge, and with minimum runoff, the impact was much greater, I believe. But Esteban Ocon has been in great form, because I think he has scored what 20-25 odd points now in the five races, right? And yeah, I mean, the Alpine clearly has some pace. It is struggling here or there, but Esteban Ocon is making full use of that pace and bringing points absolutely consistently.
I think all but one team, are struggling with operational issues. And that one team obviously is Red Bull. That they have the fastest pit stops.
Yeah.
The strategy is on point. Their car is definitely the best on the grid. And we have seen all the other teams, even Ferrari, struggle with pit stops, strategy, and just getting their race weekend together. So, like you said, especially in the midfield, that is what the end of the season, the constructors championship will be decided by.
Yeah.
The third, fourth, fifth places. Like McLaren, McLaren had a great race a couple of weekends ago, but this weekend they were there with Lando Norris, but they ended up nowhere at the end of the race with a bad strategy call, which put Lando Norris behind literally everyone in the race, and he couldn't get through traffic. So a lot of things a lot of takeaways for the teams, I believe. Obviously the TV broadcasting apparently was not great. I couldn't see any of it, most of it, because of my internet issues. But apparently the TV broadcasting was not great, so something else for the Miami organizers to understand and work with the producers. But overall, I think it was a success in terms of organizing an event in America, and I'm pretty sure people are already pumped for Miami next year and Las Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I read some tweets and some reports that the quality of service in the premium areas basically was not worth the exorbitant amounts of money that they paid. But obviously, we don't have first-hand accounts of them, or whatever. Apparently, the company that organizes all these events was different. Usually some Austrian company organizes all the events, all the off-track stuff, the premium stuff for Formula 1. This time it was all locally sourced from Miami. So that may be the thing. But yeah, I think overall, as you said, as an event in America, as a new race in Miami at a ridiculously unique location, it was great. I mean, they dismantled two tennis courts and then they will rebuild them after this weekend, after the weekend. So yeah, incredible stuff.
And that is one of many examples.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I wish I was there and I was visiting. It would have been great to be there in this weather, but it wasn't meant to be. However, that's all from my side. Vedant, any other things that you want to talk about before we wrap up this podcast?
well, nothing from Miami, but yeah, I think I already said it, but we are heading to Barcelona in a couple of weeks time. Barcelona, every team will bring in upgrades, and it will be the first major upgrade station of most teams will bring their first major upgrades to Barcelona. So it will be really interesting to see what those upgrades do. And now that the teams have so many races of data to create those upgrades, I think it's going to be really interesting where that goes, especially with teams like Ferrari who have not had any upgrades ever since. So it's going to be exciting, but yeah, let's see. Barcelona, we know, is a very boring but strategically interesting race like last year. So let's see.
Yeah, like you said, don't expect too much from the racing, but from the technical side of it, I think it's going to be an exciting weekend with all the upgrades that are coming in. Thank you, Vedant, for joining me once again. It's been a pleasure talking F1 with you, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.